Hi, everybody. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci of NLL Lacrosse Talk. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember. Oh my goodness!
We dropped Russ.
I dropped the guest. Got him back. All right, you're still there, right, Ross? Russ. Sorry, Russ. Okay, let me finish. Okay, you're watching Spanglish Sports World, the Spanglish Sports World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now joining us is Gary Groob, the co-host, and Russ Heard, former Toronto Rock player, more than 1,200 points in the WLA and a past champ just recently with the Sea Spray playing in Langley, BC. Boy, that was the hardest start to a show that we've ever had, Gary.
Yes, it's memorable in a week's worth of memorable things. Russ, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Oh, our pleasure.
Okay, first of all, we always like to ask, how you got involved with lacrosse. What brought you to the game?
Well, for me, I grew up in New Westminster, which is, I'm sure in the West, in Western Canada, it's pretty much law that you have to play lacrosse. We didn't know what baseball was. Lived a couple blocks away from the storied Queen's Park Arena, and just down the street from Wayne Goss, lacrosse legend out in the West. So yeah, it was just natural. My parents, neither one of them had a lacrosse background, but when I was 5 years old, they put me in lacrosse.
Now, they put you in, but what inspired you to play the game? I understand you were introduced to it by your parents, but what about the game has made you want it for this long? Because you've had a nice career in playing lacrosse. What motivated you and kept you motivated?
Well, I think in the beginning, I know because I grew up, like a lot of the Eastern kids, played hockey in the winter and played lacrosse in the spring and summer. And I think at first you play, your friends are playing, and as you get a little older, you really realize what a great game lacrosse is, and then you play for your teammates and you play and try and have team success, and then once you're finished playing, I think you try and get back to the game. Hopefully for most people, just because you know that it is a great game, and you want to try and pass that on to the next generation of kids coming up.
Now, personally, I'm going to keep digging here. I'm going to keep digging really hard. Personally, your personal satisfaction. What did you like the most? Is it the running around? Is it the contact? Is it the scoring? Is it the defense?
I think all of it. I mean, as a player, obviously I was an offensive player, but every part of the game, is great. I mean, I like the contact. It's funny when I stopped playing, senior A ball and pro lacrosse. I went and I played masters, but then I went back, and from like 2001 to 2010, off and on, I played senior B still, just because I missed the contact, and and just like any great sport, like lacrosse is, you miss the dressing room too. So that part, being a part of a team and stuff. So I would say that's probably what you miss the most after.
Expand on the Masters part.
Well, out here in BC, we have a Masters box lacrosse league that we play on Sunday nights, and we also have a Masters field lacrosse league, and there's a lot of guys that play in both. And what we do is we have like 6 to 8 teams in each league, and we have team leaders, and every year it's like one big club, and every year we do a redraft, and the team leaders pick new teams, and it's a lot of fun. It's a good social thing, and it keeps you playing the game. And we've got guys that we start at 35, and we got guys that are like 67 playing. So a big age gap, and guys that never played the game to guys that played pro. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so there's a correlation between the Masters games and Masters lacrosse. Yeah. For people that know, the Masters games, basically seniors that don't want to give up the love of sport and competition, and they continue on. In your case, it was physical contact, and obviously scoring goals is a lot of fun. But you can score goals on a net when you're just standing in a schoolyard. It's
Yeah.
the contact is something that you need the game to do that, to have that experience.
Exactly, for sure, and it's a fun part of the game, and I think lacrosse is no different than any other sport. The more kids coming up work out and get stronger, bigger, stronger, faster, the more success they're going to have. So because it is obviously people that see lacrosse for the first time, I'm sure you've heard from a lot of people, they've seen hockey, maybe they haven't seen lacrosse, and all of a sudden they see lacrosse and that's legal. So there's obviously a lot of hitting and contact in the game.
Exactly. Yeah, I just the last thing I want to say, just for those of you that we're looking forward to see Russ Heard. You can't see him because we couldn't get a connection or a system in place where what he had to use and what we use didn't meet. So we're doing just audio. So I apologize to our viewers. Our listeners won't care because it's going to be the same thing to them. But for those of you that are watching, we apologize for that. And, it's great to have you on. That's the most important thing. And I'm thankful for having you on. We really appreciate you taking the time to be on with us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Now I'm going to turn Gary loose on you.
Sure.
Now, you also played hockey when you were growing up as well, yeah?
I did, yes. Up until I was about 17 or so, and then at that point it was time to make a decision between the two, and I picked lacrosse. Way more money in lacrosse than hockey.
Oh, of course, sure. You were talking before about being a speedster.
Sarcasm. Hello. I just want you folks out there, because there's a lot of lacrosse players out there going, what?
Where do I make this money? Now, we had Michelle Boyer on, and she had some interesting stories when she was starting about how she developed her skills. How did you get a chance to develop your skills? Because I know a lot of people weren't very thrilled about using buildings and using school, whatever, to thump balls on. How did you go and develop your skills?
Well, I lived, like I said, a couple blocks from Queen's Park, but we lived in apartments, and we weren't allowed to throw lacrosse balls against the walls because obviously they made too much noise inside. So myself and another lacrosse player, Terry Oem, played the game for a long time, really good player out here. We had a baseball diamond in front of our place, and the little brown box that held the bases like that. That was our little target that him and I had to hit to practice our accuracy. Otherwise, we had to walk about 12 blocks to lacrosse box, or if they let us in the arena during the day, it was only a couple blocks away. So when we weren't able to get in the arena, or we didn't feel like walking up to the box, that's where we worked on our game.
Now, as you were growing up, who did you look up to? Being in New West, it's hallowed ground for lacrosse. You have to lacrosse more than hockey in there.
Yeah, probably a block and a half from my house was Wayne Goss, and then another, or even closer, was Paul Parnell, who was a great player in the West. And actually came from the East originally, and so I walked by their houses every day going to school. I've joked before, so that was like 15 years in a row. But yeah, no, they lived there all the time and see them. And my sister used to babysit for Wayne Goss, and I actually play masters with Wayne's son Warren now. We call him Skip, but he wasn't not quite as good as Wayne was. So
right, we've had both of them on as guests. Great guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Now your whole family's involved in lacrosse, yeah?
Well, my wife she helps out a lot for like our master's leagues, and she's the team manager. I coach Burnaby Junior A lacrosse, and she's our team manager there. And then she worked her whole life downtown in the stock market, back office type jobs where she'd done everything, and finally got tired of it, so she started working for BCLA, and I think 5 years ago, and she's been doing that. So now she pretty much does lacrosse 24/7. A bit of lacrosse.
Oh, so now reverse roles now. She's spending a lot of time on lacrosse, and you're the one that's going, so when's it going to stop? When are you going to bring dinner home?
Yeah, exactly. I think we kind of realized that my son's still playing. So my son played on the C-Spray team that we just won, my son Ryan, that we won the Arena Lacrosse League with, and then he also plays on our Junior A team in Burnaby. So So he's got 1 year of junior left. So I don't think lacrosse is going to stop. I actually still play men's field lacrosse with him, just to not that I should be playing with the young guys, but just so that I can have the ability to play with him.
Wow.
How thrilling is that?
What's that?
How thrilling is that to play with your son?
It's great. I had the chance a few years ago to play box lacrosse with him when he was his first year of junior. It was B1, so he was able to play up senior C when they called him up, and then they asked me to come play, so I was able to play a tournament with him, and that was pretty cool. And then since then we've been playing field together the last 2 or 3 years, so it's fun. I joke that I'll probably be in an assisted home in a couple of years, so as long as I can do this, play with him, I'll keep doing it as long as I can. So
I had a friend of mine, and my favorite saying that he said was, when you're a parent, right? When you're a parent, you go through the original leading your children, telling your children, explaining to your children, and they have no wherewithal to argue with you. Not that they don't try, but they don't have a real argument, right? When did the point come, like he said to me, then comes the time when you have a debate with your child and they start winning the argument. In the case of playing lacrosse, when was the intersection where you realized, well, okay, there's not much more I can teach him?
Yeah, well, I think that's a good point. But I think in lacrosse, I mean, whether you're playing or coaching, you can always learn. Like for me, I'm 58 years old now, and I always have an open mind. I think every time I go to the arena and watch somebody else doing something, whether it's a player or a coach's idea, you're always learning. So I think the best players are the ones that are hungry to keep on learning and to keep on getting better. And I tell guys, the juniors that I coach, that you can work out and get stronger and so that, but you can always get better. You can always get smarter at the game. And there's a certain point I know from myself playing that when you're trying to play for too long, you're just treading water, because you can only keep up with the young guys for so long. But you can always get smarter and learn to play better. And that's why you look at the NHL, for example, or the Tom Brady's in football and stuff like that. The guys that play for a long time, they're the smart guys. They're not just in great physical shape, but they're very smart. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As a player gets older, there's again another intersection point where the mind and the mind takes longer it lasts longer than the body. So exactly. There comes a point when the mind takes over for the body.
Yeah.
Until the body kind of doesn't hear too good. Doesn't agree too much.
The mind sometimes thinks that the body can do things that it can't, and then the body kind of lets you know.
Okay, well, I was really interested, and by the way, it was tongue in cheek when I asked about the son thing. There comes a time when when we as parents, and Gary's going through that now. He had an intersection point in his case where people now, when his son and him walk in the room, they ask Gary to stand up.
Yeah. He got all the hate in the family. He loves standing beside me because he just looks down. Yeah, Dad. Okay, great. Thanks. Now, getting into your lacrosse career, let's talk about the junior with New West. You had a couple of years where you made it to the Minto Cup, and you played against a couple of very familiar names to us hockey guys. You played against Adam Oates in the '83 Minto Cup, Joe Newendike in the '84 Minto Cup. Those are some major players.
They are, yeah. And actually, I remember going back east even earlier in the PB Nationals and playing against Brian Bellows. He was on St. Catharines, and he was a phenomenal lacrosse player too. But yeah, for sure, Adam Oates was an incredible player. That was my first year junior. We're back east in '83 in Peterborough and Etobicoke, and he was playing for Etobicoke, and he was really good. I was a rookie, and I remember he came to check me, and he did the up and over, got the ball to my stick and down on a breakaway, and thankfully our goalie saved my butt on that one. I was like, okay, dumb rookie, don't do that again. But I think he set a record that year for like points in the game, like 23 or something like that, which is a good season for a lot of guys. And and then the Nieuwendyk, Joe Nieuwendyk was really good too. Obviously, his brother Gil was a great player for a long time, but Joe would have been, phenomenal. I mean, I think he led the league in scoring. I think he had 83 goals or something that year, and pretty tough guy to contain. But great players to play against, and it's amazing how many of the high-end hockey players were really good at lacrosse too.
Yeah, one of the traits I find with hockey players that they pick up from being lacrosse players is the stick control and the body control. And by body control, I mean that experience helps you a lot in protecting the puck.
It does, yeah. Wayne Gretzky, as everyone knows, always talks about lacrosse and how it helped his game and stuff. And they're both such similar sports. The physicality of them, other than the cross check that a lot of
the legal cross check, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But they're so similar, other than skating and running and stuff like that. So I think that's why there's so many guys that I play with out here. We played hockey and lacrosse, and when I played in Toronto, pretty much every guy that I talked to on the Rock at that time said, they all played hockey too. And
right.
We talked about one day getting a game at Maple Leaf Gardens, but I think the thing that we kept on forgetting about was we would always fly home the next morning after a game, and we weren't usually feeling that the best when we flew home. There was usually a few pops after the game, so.
That raises an interesting question and an opportunity. Gary, the NLL has the All-Star game, no?
Not anymore, no.
Not anymore?
Not for a number of years. I think 2010 or 11 was the last time they had one. I'm hoping they bring one back, just because with all the TV deals, you wouldn't get a better chance to showcase all the talent that's out there than putting in there and skills competitions. I think that would bring a whole new viewership to the league.
I was thinking of injecting a hockey game in the middle of it, like a 15-minute game between some players who played both sports. I think that would be interesting.
It would be fun, yeah.
And I think it would draw a lot of attention from hockey fans as well.
Yeah.
Now you got drafted. You got drafted to Richmond, which was a weird thing, because you were in a draft that was so rich. They put an expansion team. They became Burnaby after a couple of years. But let's talk about that team. That was a pretty cool team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for quite a few years there was 5 teams in the WLA out here, and then Nanaimo had dropped out, and so it's been several years. So when our draft year came up, it was a pretty strong draft year. So what they'd said was they were going to give the top 10 draft picks to the expansion team, which was Richmond, and then we're allowed to get 2 free agents off of each team if they wanted to come and to try and build a team. The problem was nobody wanted to go to an expansion team, so all we got was the top 10 draft picks, which was some pretty good picks. But we just didn't have enough depth in the beginning, so it took a few years for the team to kind of build through the draft, and then also Jack Crosby bought the team, took it over, and moved it to Burnaby, and that kind of helped too, because it was a little more central location. Mm-hmm. When we were out in Richmond, our team was called the Outlaws, and I remember we played on Wednesday nights, and a reporter said they're called the Outlaws, but they're more like the In-Laws because no one wants to go see them. But by the time we moved to Burnaby, within a couple of years there, we were starting to get stronger, and the team had a lot more depth, and we actually went to the Western Finals 3 out of 4 years, I think, from the 90 to 94 area, somewhere in there, 93.
Right.
But,
and
yeah.
You later on, when Burnaby wasn't really a playoff contender anymore, you'd asked to get traded. You wound up going to the North Shore Indians, yeah?
I just asked to get traded. I didn't want to leave Burnaby, but we hadn't been competitive in a few years, and I said, okay, but gets to the point this year where we're not going to make the playoffs. I said, before the trade deadline, can you trade me to a team that's going to be in the playoffs? I didn't ask for any particular one, so it did end up being North Shore. Mm-hmm. And we had a pretty good year in North Shore. I played the second half of the year with them, but kind of ran into a tough time against Victoria. I think we lost in 6 to them in the semifinals. They had some plug named Gary Gate playing for them.
Some no name there.
Yeah. But no, they had a pretty strong team. But we gave it a good run against them. But they were just too strong for us.
And then you finished off with Coquitlam, yeah?
I did, Yeah. So what happened with North Shore was they had kind of traded a lot of their assets away, and the deal with me with Burnaby was for futures, and they didn't have any futures to give up. So I went back to Burnaby, and so Burnaby agreed to retrade me because their situation hadn't really changed at all. So then Dan Stroop and myself got traded to Coquitlam. So I was able to finish my last couple of years there. Again,
you retired in 2000, and of course, with luck, Coquitlam won the Mann Cup in 2001.
Yeah, you know, and I was happy for them and stuff, but you know, all the guys I played with and stuff, people would ask me the question, and they'd say, "Oh, don't you wish you played one more year?" And I said, "No." I said, "You know, when I retired, I was having issues with my shoulder. I was getting shots in my shoulder so I could play. I was going to the chiropractor game days so I could play because my back was going out and my knee was bugging me. And I said that I wanted to win a Mann Cup, but I wanted to be a part of it. I didn't want to be a guy that just hung on and got my name on it. And I said, so after I retired, I started to recover to the point where I could be able to start playing again. So I only played part-time, but I couldn't have put the commitment in to play full-time and to have my body in the best shape where I would be much of a value to the team. So that's why at that time I knew it was the right time to retire. And as much as you want to win a Mann Cup, you just don't want to be that guy that's sitting out and on the cup, have your name on it. You want to be the guy that was, helped in some way to win the cup. So that was my.
Let's be clear. You didn't want to be that guy, because I've heard of some guys.
Well, exactly. To be clear, yeah.
But being a prolific scorer, of course, you took all the over the years, you took all the good defensemen, all the double teams. So I'm sure that you wore a lot of wooden sticks over the years.
Yeah, for sure. I've got enough broken bones on the hands and stuff, and other injuries, knees, ankles, shoulders, pretty much everything you can injure in lacrosse. And it's funny, a few years ago we were in Hawaii, and I dislocated a finger in Hawaii. And so my wife used the iPad to send the X-ray pictures home to my doctor, and he says, "Well, the one you broke and dislocated doesn't look so bad." He says, "But the one next to it, not so good."
Yeah.
No,
I know that well. So going into the NLL, you went to an expansion team of Charlotte. Now, I used to, during the pandemic, I had put up a weekly retro game from Major Indoor as well as National Lacrosse, just to keep everybody interested and keep everybody riveted with some of the older stuff. And it wasn't easy, but I actually came across a Charlotte game. They went 0-10, and this game was against Rochester. It was actually a pretty good game, but that year 0-10, but you had injury problems with them as well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a week before I had set up everything to go, because I went down to live there for 3 months. I injured my right shoulder, and when you're a right-handed shooter, that's not the best injury to have. So. So I had a tough time. I couldn't really shoot the ball, and if that's what your job is to do, it makes it pretty tough. So it actually took that injury took about a full year for me to recover, because when I came back the next year in the WLA, I think I had my worst year in some years for that. So I gave my shoulder a full year's rest, and then I started working out again, and then started to feel better after that. But Charlotte was a tough year, not just for me injury wise, but just the team. We only had a few of us Canadians on it, and then the Americans that we had on the team, for the most part, none of them had played box lacrosse, so it made it really difficult to all mainly field players playing box for the first time, and then our coaching staff was guys that were American field lacrosse players too and hadn't played the box game. So it was a bit of a challenge, but as things went on, we had some close games, but the 0-10 record wasn't a surprise to many that year.
Right, but it was a really cool logo. I'll give it that.
It was cool logo, cool place to play and stuff. It was very nice. Weather's milder down there too. It was a nice place to be. I like
winter in Charlotte. Yeah, I can deal with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't get that hot either.
No, it wasn't too hot. It was perfect, and we even made a road trip down to Florida, down to Miami Beach while we were there when it had an off.
Then it's hot.
That was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
you,
I've drove through Charlotte a few times and stayed there a couple of times, and it's when in the winter it's like fall is here. It's not like it's not 90 degrees, you know.
Yeah, it's nice.
So it's very comfortable.
Yeah.
So when you were ready to come back, you got in touch with Johnny Meridian and made it to the Ontario Raiders, soon to be the Toronto Rock. But you jumped a year in Hamilton there.
Well, it's funny. Johnny was a part of the thing when I was down in Charlotte, and he saw me play there. He thought, "Okay, this guy's a plug, probably." I'm sure. So, so when because before that, in order to play, you had to do what we did. You had to live there, and because they weren't going to fly guys in because it was all American teams in the old MIL. And then once the new league came about and Ontario Raiders were in the league, all of a sudden here's a team that's going to fly a few guys in. So they were set to fly in Pat Coyle, Chris Gill, and Dan Stroop. And then Stroopy calls me up. He goes, "Yeah," he says, "You've got a team. You should call up Johnny and see if you can play or stuff like that." And I was late to the party. I called Johnny up. And he goes, "Oh, we've already picked the team," and probably he remembered how I played in Charlotte too. So he goes, "Yeah, no, we'll call you if we need you." And I thought, yeah, that means no. So, right. So I luckily I was playing hockey. I was playing on a couple teams, so I was playing that a couple times a week, and all of a sudden, their season starts and they're 3 games into it, and I get a phone call from Johnny Meridian, or actually from Stroopy first, saying they want you to play. I said, "Stroopy," I said, I haven't been running. I thought when he said no, he was just being polite when he said he'd call you. They're not going to need me. And so I didn't do any conditioning for lacrosse and stuff. And he goes, "No, I would just talk to him." I said, I can't do it. I said, "No." I said, "I'm not going to." He goes, "Come on, just do it." And so he talked me into it. I talked to Johnny, and they said, "Yeah, we're just checking on injuries. We might need you as close as this weekend." And then I got a call the next day. "Yeah, we got another injury. Yeah, we need you. Can you fly out right away?" Well, all of a sudden I'm playing. So I told Les Bartley and Johnny Meridian at that time, I said, "Okay," I said, I'll do everything I can to work hard on getting into lacrosse shape. I've only been playing hockey." I said, "But you give me some time and we're good." So, but things worked out. We had a good year, and the team I think started off a little slow, like 1-2, but I think we won 5 of our last 6 and entered ourselves into a 3-way tie for 3rd spot. And in our last game of the season, we played Philadelphia in Philadelphia. We needed to win to get the playoffs, and they needed to win clinch first. And we beat them like 15-7. And their management had gone golfing with our management and said, "We don't want to play you guys in the playoffs if it happens," because they golfed the day before. And as it turned out, the 3-way tie worked out poorly for us, where we finished in 5th instead of 3rd or 4th and missed the playoffs. And then when we moved the next year over to Toronto, and they put in a couple new pieces and new ownership group and stuff like that, we just kind of carried that confidence over and ended up winning the championship in that first year.
Right. Well, that was quite a team too. You're talking about Doyle, Veltman, Toll, Taw, Stroop, Laddie, Watson.
Yeah.
That's an all-star team in any regard. Tell me, what is it like playing for Les Bartley?
It was great. Les was not the X and O guy. He was the rah-rah guy, and he brought everyone together. He put the right people in the right places. He knew how to talk to people, and he got your game up. He was a guy that, a real players coach that you wanted to play for, and I think most guys really enjoyed the experience playing under Les.
So who did he hand the X's and O's to then?
Eddie Como on the offensive end, and in the beginning it was Jammer. Keenan was helping out coaching because he just stopped playing, but it was kind of Johnny Meridian was doing some of the defense early, and Eddie Como was doing the offense, but together they were a great team on getting everyone on the right page on how to play. And like you said, there's a lot of good players on that team, and I've had discussion with this before with people, like, there's so much video now and stuff. They had videos for us, but sometimes if they had them, they were a short compilation clip, where you looked at it in 5 minutes, because we didn't have the same time they do now when they come out. And nowadays they come out and have a practice the night before, and then you have a walk through the day of, and then you play that night. Well, back in those days, we practiced a couple times early in the season, and then we would just fly out the night before and then play the next night. And so there's no practicing, no going over stuff. We just and say, okay, that's what we're going to do. So a little different than it is now.
I guess it's a real testament to a great coach whose history, Les was one of the most admired coaches in NLL history, and in fact in lacrosse history. And to me, it sounds awesome that he had the ability to understand his limitations and his willingness to bring other people in, to basically fill in the gaps that he couldn't. That takes a lot of no ego to do that.
Yeah, no, that was the guy he was. And I think, that was the same thing that he did for his work too. I believe he was like the union rep and stuff. And so he was the guy that, knew how to organize things and have the right people in the right place. And he knew how to talk to guys and how to get them up and build them up and stuff. And, so we always went out there with a ton of confidence when we went on the floor and it showed in the results.
Yeah, he's pretty much the biggest hole that we have on this program, unable to get him on, obviously.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I regret the most, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Now, I got an interesting question for you. You played your 400th game in the WLA at 52. Now, I know that there's a story behind it. Do you want to go into it with us?
Well, my good friend Steve Goodwin, who's the head coach, and I was the offensive coach for the New Westminster Senior Sandboys. We had played the night before, and we're having a couple beers discussing things because beers help to make you smarter when you're discussing things after a game. And it was early in the season, and we were short players. Guys go away, school or wherever, what have you, and it was all the moons aligned where, unfortunately for me, all the senior B teams were playing, and we needed guys. And he said, "Well," he goes, "What about you?" He says, "Don't you need like your 400, one more game for your 400 game?" I go, "Yeah." I said, "Let's not be crazy here." I said, "This isn't preseason. This is the regular season." And he goes, "No, well, we got no one else." And I said, "You need to exhaust every avenue you can tomorrow during the day to find somebody that can play." I said, "Because I'm not playing." And he's going, "Come on, you got to do it. Somebody's got to do it." So next thing you know, Dan Richardson, the GM, he's getting them to get a jersey with my name on it, doing all this stuff. I said, I can't play because supposedly if I play a game, because they were doing the Hall of Fame votes, and if I'm not in the Hall of Fame yet, then I'd have to wait. It would make me have to wait 5 more years to get in. And so then we had to find out we had to get hold of Dave Evans. He goes, no, you got voted in already. You're good to go. You can play the many games you want. It's like, okay, damn, now I can still play. So that doesn't work. And then I said, "Oh, okay." So I'd already signed the card, and I was playing Senior B for the North Shore Indians for their playoffs that year because I'm crazy. And they had a game that day, so they had to get them to release me for however long off the card. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to play up for Senior A team on the same night it was Senior B team playing. There's all these things that went into it, and all kept getting knocked off and getting done, so I was able to play. And I was like, "Oh, this is crazy. I can't do this." And I'd already arranged for my son. It was I believe his 16th birthday at that time, trying to do the math. When we went over to Victoria, and he was going to come anyways and just watch while I was coaching and being there to watch me play, which afterwards was pretty cool. But it was quite the experience, and I wasn't sure I could do it still because I played a few games when I was 46, and 6 years had passed by. And I'm thinking, okay, can I really do this? I'm out there in warm up, and then I'm kind of running around and just doing the warm up, popping some goals in on our goalies and warm up. I'm thinking, I think I can make this work. And I went out there and I played, but I played the game as if I was a coach, and all I want to do was get the ball and set picks for other guys and stuff. And they're coming to try to set picks for me. I'm going, no. It's like, don't do that. It's like, I'm trying to set you. I'm not out here to try and score. I'm 52. It's like I'm trying to set picks for you guys to score and do stuff. But it was a lot of fun. It was quite the night. And there was a lot that went into it that the Bellies organization got just so I could play that game. It was pretty cool.
That's amazing. It's almost like the game was anticlimactic to all the other events that had to go on.
Oh, well, it was funny because I thought I could kind of sneak in there and no one would notice on Victoria and stuff, and then all of a sudden it's like they're announcing that that 52-year-old Russ Heard's on the lineup tonight for. So I got to sneak into town to sneak out of town, and no one noticed. So
Yeah, you don't want to be tested by those young bucks, right?
Well, I thought they would more, but the nice thing was that, we had some good offensive players playing still, so they were more worried about them than
they were occupied.
Some old guy in the corner. They probably didn't want to be the guy that broke my hip or something like that.
Right.
That'd be taken away. So.
Okay, so we only got about 10 minutes, so I want to get into your coaching. I also want to get into a couple of your accolades too. Let's talk about how you got into coaching.
Kind of like a deer in the headlights. When I retired from Coquitlam, I ran into both the coaches at the time, Scott Swartz and Rob Dick, that were coaching Burnaby Senior A, and they both asked me, because they knew I lived close to the Burnaby Arena, if I wanted to help out. So I figured, okay, well, maybe some power play stuff, whatever. I said, yeah, sure. And then the next thing I know, a few months later, I hear that Rob Dick's stepping down as the coach of Senior A in Burnaby. So now all of a sudden I've gone from a guy that's going to help out to a co-coach, and then shortly after that, they asked me to be the head coach within a year or two, and so yeah, like I said, it was kind of like deer in the headlights. Didn't see it coming, and so I was pretty inexperienced back then, and even when I went down and coached in Colorado with Gary Gate, I hadn't been at it that long, and so I didn't have a lot of experience. So, but yeah, it was just I'm not unhappy that it happened. It's just I just really wasn't expecting it to happen that quickly after playing. I kind of figured you're going to take a bit of a break, but I guess I was wrong.
But you kept very, very busy because you were doing minors, you're doing seniors, juniors, you're all over the place there.
Yeah, well, my son had played when he was young, and we had there was a guy coaching that he didn't really know lacrosse for kids, and it wasn't like a lot of fun for the kids, and my son decided he didn't want to play anymore, so he took a year off, and so then he came back the next year. We said to him, do you want to play this year? He said, I'll play if you coach. So then that was, when he was in Tyker or novice or whatever, quite a young age. And I said, okay. So then I coached him all the way up from there after that. He really enjoyed the game. So for me, I was just happy that he enjoyed the game. He wanted to play. It didn't matter to me, how far he wanted to go in the game. Just the fact that he was enjoying the game was reward enough for me.
Were you aware of the special nature of playing at your age? At the time.
Yeah, it's difficult. I know. I think the only reason I was able to do it, like people say, "How do you do it?" I say, "Well, I do work out all the time, and which helps. And then I, playing like ice hockey, and then playing Masters lacrosse. I'm already playing, so yes, it's still a leap to play like senior A lacrosse and stuff like that at an older age, but obviously nothing I do full time or could do full time. But the only reason I was able to do it was because physically I'm still, I keep myself in a strong enough shape, and then you're playing the other sports, but obviously you can't keep up with the young guys. It's one thing to do it as one game as a guest or whatever, but the game is it's a young man's game, so you can't keep up to those guys at a high level for very long.
But the challenge is nice.
The challenge is nice, and it's fun to get out there. And I got to admit, when I got out there and I played that game when I was 52, and I was thinking that the game really hasn't changed a whole lot. It's just you still go there, you do the same things on the floor, and it's just that the people around me are a lot faster, and the guy inside this body is a lot slower.
Now, you're still a student of the game. You go to games. You take notes of what everybody's doing nowadays. You're a big proponent of transition, just like I am. Loving all the extra stuff that makes it that much more interesting. Do you think the NLL has gotten better at transition over the years, or do you think it's more wrapped up in getting their offense out that they're pulling up their defense maybe prematurely?
That's a great question, and I say that because there's a lot of the old timers out here that they don't really pay that much attention to the game in a certain way, because they all complain about there's no transition in the game. And I said, what did we do when we used to play? I said, we'd go play offense, we'd play defense, we'd come off. But if there was a chance down the floor, we would take it. And I said, it's the same way now if you have a coach that coaches that way. So my answer to your question is it depends on who's coaching. Because there are some coaches that really don't believe in transition a lot, and they want to get their offensive guys out there and get like you said, I am a big proponent of offense of the transition game, and I want to get guys down the floor, and I give guys in junior or AL, wherever we're coaching, the green light. I say, if there's 4 of you going down the floor, because there's a 4-on-3, then take it. But if there's nothing there, then a maximum of 1 of you stay, or even all of you come off if there's time, but you got to come off hard off the floor so that, it's not boring just that they're watching guys draw off the floor and taking their time and then the changeover. So right. I really believe it depends on who's coaching on what you believe. I still think if you're watching, I watch the game all the time. We have season tickets out here for the Warriors, and I still think there's a lot of transition in the game, and it's a fun game to watch. So it all depends on, how you look at the game.
Yeah, well, when you're looking at the game and you're looking at transition, what is the benefit for the viewer, for the fan, if the transition game is working the way it can?
Oh, I think it's great. It makes it more exciting. It's end-to-end lacrosse. Just like in the old days when we played and there was end-to-end lacrosse. You have the same thing now. So you get guys taking off down the floor. There's a breakaway, and all of a sudden it's back the other way. I think it's just a all-around more exciting game. The game where you have the coaches that just say, okay, let's stop at center. They got a shot caller on the players that they step over that center line, pretty much, and then pass the ball off. And I think they're changing the rules this year in the junior games, in the game or the major back east. They're doing a temporary trial basis where they're going to have it just like the NLL, where you can have the 8 seconds to get over and then over and back. So I think that'll speed up the game and make it a little more difficult for the offense-defense teams just to kind of go up the center and to pass off the ball. So I think that'll help bring a little more transition in the game.
Just sort of take out the wind sprints out of the game.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the game is faster consistently.
Exactly. Yeah. It's you're gonna have to get down the floor faster. They're gonna do the 8-second rule, same thing as the NLL. So you got to get the ball down the floor fairly quickly. And I'm glad that the rules that they are changing they're going to be temporary changes on a trial basis for this year. They're all good NLL rules that speed up the game and make the game a little more exciting.
Right. Yeah, because if you look at all the successful coaches over the year, Bartley, Keenan, Cordingley, Tavar, they all use that transition game to their advantage. Keenan won a couple of championships doing that specifically just to keep the other team completely unnerved, not knowing whether to do. A lot of penalties came out because teams were jumping early, and all kinds of other things happen because of it if your transition game's working right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Jammer was there, with Buffalo in the old days, and then with Toronto, like Hamilton, Toronto, when we were there as a player in Hamilton and a coach in Toronto with us. And so that was a big part of how we played the game. We expected to score. I mean, the goal was to try and get 4 or 6 goals off the back end. When Stevie Toll came there, all he needed to do is have Beltman just flip it over his shoulder, throw it down the floor, and Toll would run under it.
Yeah.
There's a couple transition goals again right there, but that was a big part of the way we played. And it also helps when you've got the turf, because you can toss that ball down and it's not going to bounce out like it does, in the Canadian game on the cement floor.
Yeah. Now, the Arena Lacrosse League, let's talk about that. We've had Paul St. John on a couple of times. We actually had all the hierarchy of the Arena Lacrosse League West just before they got started. How did you get involved with this? I love the Arena Lacrosse League. I love it out here. I love what it stands for. I love it being a feeder league. I love it being a learning league and all the rest of that. And I love it that a lot of the players have somewhere to play now instead of just hanging up their stick come the end of the summer. How did you get involved?
Rob Buchan out here, him and Ken Buchan run the ALL West League. They asked me to take a team, and when they told me what it was, that it was basically a league to try and help guys to get to the next level in the NLL, I thought, that's a great idea for a league. I wasn't aware that the ALL East was going on, and once we heard that, he talked to a few of us and so we agreed to do it. Just thought it was a great idea, and it was a fun process. We were able to pick our staff and put a team together, and then we had the combine and went through and drafted the guys we thought were the guys, and then it's very unique league because you don't get as much practice time as you do if you're coaching senior A or junior A or NL for that matter. There were some weeks where we weren't practicing, especially down the stretch, so it's a whole different thing. It's kind of like I was talking about earlier, when we were flying back to Toronto and just playing and not interaction. You had to just talk to guys. And so showing guys things on the whiteboard and stuff, and just working on things. And that way, it was a little bit trickier but everything worked out, and our team played great and had an unbelievable close finals with the Grizzlies out here, and we were able to pull it off and win.
Yeah, walkthroughs are tough, huh?
It was very tough, very competitive. I mean, I think we lost the first game 9-8. We won the second game in overtime, and then we had to go to the mini game and won that by 2-1, I think. So it was quite the battle.
Right. Now, it being all in the Langley Event Center, is that easier, or is it more challenging with all four teams in the same place playing?
No, I think it was good. Good neutral site, and I think for the first year we were playing in the field house, behind the main arena, and then they're hopeful now, with now a little bit of notoriety that the players have given it, and more players know about it now, that more fans will know about it, that eventually they can move it next door into the bigger building.
Right. Is there expansion on the horizon in this league, do you think?
I know when Paul St. John was out, he talked about the possibility of an East-West final next year, and I also heard someone saying that they were talking about expanding to at least one more team for next year, but I didn't hear Paul say that, so I'm not sure if that's in the plans, but I think, that's probably a possibility. I think a lot of the junior and senior teams hadn't heard about it at the beginning of this year, and I think there'll probably be more guys that wanted to play next year now after they've seen the success that the league's had out here.
Yeah, for me growing up, the battle between the West and East was very intense. How is it changing with you have the blending of East and West now? I think, you tell me, the advent of Americans playing box lacrosse and the Canadians playing field lacrosse, it's kind of taking over that battle that was going on between East and West, and now you got something going on North and South.
Yeah, no, it's amazing how many box leagues are popping up down in the U.S. and how many more kids are playing field lacrosse here and playing field lacrosse down there. So that dynamic has changed a lot. But there's still the old rivalries in the East and West in your Metro Cups and your Man Cups. And
absolutely.
For NLL and stuff like that. But yeah, it is a lot different. A lot of American players coming up here to play in our box leagues too. So not just in their own down there, but that is a big change.
It'd be great if we got the East versus the West. We'd have our own pseudo Man Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I'm not sure. It might be a little bit early for that, but he's talking about that. So I guess they'll look into it and see if they can make that work for next year.
Right. Now I want to talk about a couple of your accolades before we go away. Inducted into the Burnaby Sports Hall of Fame February 2014, Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame 2016. Retired. What's that, Frank?
Nothing. Just keep going. I'm just doing a cheer for him.
Oh, okay. Retired at number up in the Copeland Arena. Let's talk about the one thing I brought this up last week with another guest was when Michelle Boyer got inducted. She was inducted in the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame as well as her hometown Hall of Fame, the Burnaby Sports Hall of Fame. What does that mean to you?
It's pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot of athletes in that Sports Hall of Fame, and yeah, it was a bit of a surprise when that came up. But there's I was sitting there with Harold Schneps when he was being inducted the year after
Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, long time.
So lots of Burnaby guys. I think Cliff Ronning, another Canuck. I think he's in there, and all different sports in Burnaby, and it was pretty cool.
It must be really cool. There's the pride and satisfaction of a national award, an international award, but there is some. I think the point Gary was trying to get at is when it's a local award, it has a whole different. It's almost more familial, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, and it's kind of cool. Outside of the city hall, they have little favors with our names on them and stuff. What year we're inducted, so it's kind of cool. It's always going to be there. Something that they can't take away.
Congratulations.
Definitely.
Thank you.
And then, of course, the biggie, the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that was, that's, instead of my induction when you're a kid and you're playing and stuff like that, or when you grow up and you're playing, you never expect that is just kind of the result of of when you finish playing and how your career went. But I mean, it's always an honor and a surprise, but it is pretty cool when you think of the people like the Wayne Gosses, the Paul Brunels, and all the guys. There's too many to list that 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 you grew up idolizing. That all of a sudden these guys are in the Hall of Fame, and now you're in there too. That part's pretty cool.
Now, the coolest thing is actually the number being retired and hanging from the rafters, because lots of people are in the Hall of Fame. There's not a lot of numbers hanging from the rafters. I think that's really, really cool.
Well, it is pretty cool, and it's it's kind of nice because I coach in Burnaby now, and so you're sitting there, and they've got my jersey hanging up between the two flags. I said I'm a country, I guess, but it is pretty neat to look up there and see your jersey. When the night that they did it, the mayor was there, and he gave me a plaque saying, I think July 5th was Russ Heard Day, and took that to my work and told my boss, I said, I mean, I get this off every year this day, but it didn't work. But it's pretty cool seeing your jersey hanging up in an arena. To have it retired, it was quite the honor.
How hard was it for you to let them put it up there? After all, you kept using it.
Exactly. My son asked me, because he was fairly young at the time, he says, so when I get there, can I wear the number? I said, I'm sure they'll let you wear it if you get there. So that'd be pretty cool too.
It would be up to you.
That's pretty amazing, though. That would be really, really awesome if that comes about. Any advice for up and coming lacrosse players?
Just as I was saying earlier, I tell people, coaching the AL, watch the game at the highest level. When I was a kid, or even when I was in senior A, when I first got to senior A, and I was, in my mind, I was struggling a bit. I went and watched the other top offensive players, top defensive players, and learned the game and from that way. And then also just working out, everything you can do cardio wise, eating right, resting, and working out, and always know you can get bigger, better, and stronger.
That's incredible. That's great. I really want to thank you for taking the time. It's been intriguing. It's been interesting. It's been fun. What's up on the dockets for Russ Heard?
Well, I had all of 24 hours to recover from our AL league to our next night of training camp for Junior A. So we're fully into training camp right now, and we're looking forward to we had some good success last year, which had been a while for Burnaby Junior A lacrosse, and we're looking to carry that over. And we just had Andy Ogilvy sign on as our defensive coach. So we're looking at making a good run for the Metro Cup this year. That would be great.
That'd be spectacular. Wish you all the best of luck. Frank, any final thoughts?
Only wondering about one simple thing. What possesses you to play at your age? Come on, man. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding.
It was fun, and it always will be fun.
Hey, listen, we can live vicariously through you. There was another watches his birthday, I think, today. Gordie Howe, who got a chance to play with his sons in the National Hockey League, first, of course, in the WHA. And we all know how important that was to the Suns. I'm sure we haven't had a chance to talk to your son, but just let your son know that we're okay with you playing along with him, as long as he can get over the embarrassment of playing with you. Exactly. It's the only thing we ask. That he get it. Just let him know that we're okay with the embarrassment that he might feel. Sure. All kidding aside, it was a pleasure to have you on. I really enjoyed this conversation. The love of lacrosse clearly won't let go of you. And that's a nice thing. And congratulations on being able to play it for as long as you want to play it. That's an important thing.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed my time with you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Our pleasure.
Our pleasure. Absolutely.
Thanks, Gary.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Frank. It's always a pleasure to talk lacrosse.
Okay, for Russ Heard, Gary Groob, I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching NLL Lacrosse Talk. Seen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For lacrosse talk, news, entertainment, and other sports programming we offer, please check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time.